That's what we did. So the first semester was taught. It wasn't a regular university course at all. It was going to be the semester afterwards. It had been proposed and everything, but we kind of did a trial run as CPL course, continuous professional learning. But then we got used to what is that like? Okay, so first of all, there are not a lot of rules. You come in, you sign in on the attendance sheet showing that you're there. At the end of the course, I can write a letter saying that this person was there for this many hours, and then they get credit for that from the Royal College. What about if they don't want credit, they just want to show up? Well, that's fine too, you know. So the number of people sitting in the seats and listening to the lectures compared to the number of people who ask me to write letters saying how many times it's like a 10-to-1 ratio. I end up writing very few letters, but we end up with a lot of people who basically, they've decided to take this course forever. They realize I keep changing it and morphing it, because you can't keep a course about the future static. That wouldn't make any sense. It's not a course about the future then. So they keep coming, and every time the mix of the lecturers and the lectures is a little bit different. The people who keep teaching, the best teachers, are continually changing their lecture in subtle ways. For instance, Jonathan White always talks on the same subject, but from many different vantage points. And it's just fascinating, and you actually don't lose any time. You think, well, you know, he's taught for 3 times, must be redundant. But no, if you watch the 3 videos, you will realize every single one, it was like every 2 or 3 minutes you're learning something. It's an awesome learning point, you know. And how is it possible? Well, it's that there are just many different ways to look at this stuff, and so he's giving us all those various vantage points, and I think he will continue to do that. And so I'm also looking for filling in the gaps. It's not just gaps that we ought to have filled before. Some of it is that, you know, we have to keep changing the mix of the lectures too, you know. So some things will probably always be standard. Like the 4 AI lectures, we need people who don't know about artificial intelligence to know about it. It's a fairly central thing in the course. We talk about it virtually every time. And so there are those core lectures. We'll probably always have them by Osmer Zayan. But many other components, as you think of the dynamic of many more people wanting to teach in the course than we can possibly find slots for. So a lot of people end up kind of accidentally in there, because the other thing is there are a lot of free spirits, a lot of like famous people out there in the world who tell us that they want to teach in the course, you know, remotely. But then if they don't actually get the video done in time, then somebody else who actually wasn't on the schedule this year but has taught very, you know, effectively last year ends up taking their slot. So I don't feel any, you know, concern that one day there'll be nobody to give the lecture. We've got like deep depth, you know.
Yeah, that's great. So in a way, like, you know, with most classes, all it changes from year to year is the textbook font and the color of the title page.
Right.
Whereas instead of not changing the font, but you're changing the actual content.
Yes.
And just keeping some of the things, you know, concrete that you need to know.
Yeah. Well, also when you record the video, it also gives me the feeling that in terms of the comments, if I make the same comment that I already know exists on video, it's on YouTube, I don't want to make the same content again, same, you know, comment again. So if the lecture is different, it gives me other things to ask about, and the same for the other people in the room. So that's just kind of a natural feeling, and particularly the more memorable the lecture and the comment is, the less likely you are to want to repeat the exact thing again, because you think, well, I remember what that's like on YouTube. It's perfect the way it is. You know, I don't want to recreate that. Let's talk about something else. So it adds a kind of natural pressure towards diversity and to covering more and more interesting subjects, which I'm sure we will naturally do, you know, over time.
Yeah. So is that the main purpose of the videos? Just so you must have like more of a record of, okay, we've been there already, and people can see that.
Well, we have the idea that there are thousands or hundreds of thousands of people around the world who would be interested in this content, and the video provides us with a way to be able to share it with them.
So it's just a medium to communicate to those
people
who
yes.
can't be in the class.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So but that doesn't mean the real audience or the people watching it on YouTube. I would say I'm always thinking of both. I'm always thinking of the people who are physically there and who are actually taking the course for a grade and who are local here, and also the worldwide audience of people watching the videos. And I have a lot of quantitative thoughts about what the viewership of those videos could rise to. You know, the Singularity Summit videos, the best videos, they max out at about 9,000 views. They don't ever have more than that. There are lots of other things out there. Some of Ray Kurzweil's videos from the past and so on are actually considerably higher than that. And so when you think about TV programming, like, you know, the Big Bang Theory reaches 16 million people in the US and about 30 million worldwide. The Nova program on PBS reaches, you know, 100 million, I mean. And so I don't know where I want the viewership on the YouTube videos to finally end up, but I know we're very, very shy of those targets, whatever they turn out to be. So we want to improve the content. The quality of the videos are continually getting better, and you know, we will naturally get there, I think. So it's kind of fun to see that process.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So then, like speaking of, like, a lot of this talk is about the future and what's going to happen. I know we just kind of briefly talked about this a little bit earlier, but in, you know, 2 years' time from now or so, where do you see this class? How do you see this going?
Well, I think one thing is that we're kind of committed. We're going to be teaching this forever. It's a very satisfying thing for me in all sorts of ways. It sort of interdigitates nicely with all the other things that I'm doing. So we teach it both terms. To some extent, we teach it in between the terms, and then when I travel, I often end up talking about content from the course, or I give little vignettes or some of the lectures from the course in other places. So will it continue? It will certainly continue. Will it get better? Yes, it'll get better in many ways, I think. You can look at Abdullah Salah's lectures on global citizenship. It's a very relevant topic, very inspiring. When the royal couple came here last year, he was the scientist that they met, and so on. Well, so when you look at the different videos, you realize that the one he's just given a few days ago was better than the others. Why? Well, it's because gradually, by dealing with this content, he's reached a sort of synthesis where probably in his own mind he's clearer how everything fits together. He's able to convey that instantly to the audience. So this latest time, global citizenship is a huge subject, but everything made sense. Everything, all the pieces fit. You ended up at the end of the lecture feeling this completely satisfied sense that you now could understand all these various components and the importance of them and the interrelationship. I think that will happen with many of the other lecturers too. Now, why did it get better like that? Is it just repeating it over and over? Well, also he's a young person. And to some extent, he's young enough that his brain is still growing, like yours to a certain extent also is. And there's neural plasticity, I suppose, in all of us, even me. But in a young person, there are probably actually things going on there. You could say, okay, well, his brain is now more complete than it was when he taught this the first time, Like he's biologically, evolving as the course does. And maybe that's part of the reason. So that's kind of fun to think about, too. Yeah.
So, I was trying to think of another question that I had here earlier. I guess, in essence, what is the benefit to the student that you're bringing to this class? Like, I know you've talked about it being interdisciplinary, so you get kind of a fuller picture,
right?
And that sort of thing. But more so, according to the content, the topic of the course, which is technology and the future of medicine. How does that benefit?
Well, you can think of it very simply. Wouldn't you like to be prepared for the future, to have uniquely kind of a leg up where you understand what's going to happen better than your colleagues? I think this course gives you that opportunity. Now, having said that, what do I mean exactly? Do I mean that I know exactly how the future is going to be? No, that isn't what I mean. I mean you get such variety in this course that the real future, what the future is going to be, is going to be like some of those predictions, almost exactly. Now, which ones? Well, we don't know exactly, but I think it's going to be remarkable that a student who's taken this course and then experiences the next 30 years, things will happen where this, wow, now we've reached the point of this actually happening. This thing we talked about in that class way back then, it's actually happening. And there'll be things that don't happen, that we're really talking about potential scenarios. Like this idea of less than 300 people being the first group of humans whose brains are, uploaded to some non-biological substrate, and then having that group of less than 300 minds replicated like billions of times all over the world. So every community becomes sort of like a little town where everybody knows everybody else, because these less than 300 minds will be so famous all over the world, and you'll know if you have a particular problem that you want to take it to one guy named X or Y, whatever it is, and everybody. Is the world going to be like that? Well, it might be entirely different. It might be that we would have the resources when we actually become able to upload brains and have them work, that maybe we can do it for practically everyone. Maybe it won't be less than 300, maybe it'll be millions, billions. We don't know. But you can think of both of those scenarios, that to be fair, it should be something offered to everyone. Will we have the resources for that? Well, maybe not. I don't know. So I mean, that's just thinking strategically. Wouldn't you like to be more prepared for the future than the average human being, more prepared than your other fellow students? And I think this class uniquely provides you with that opportunity to be prepared by being exposed to a number of different stories and scenarios about the way the future will be. And it will be some interesting mix of the things you've heard and some things you didn't hear in the course. Like Jonathan White says, it's not going to be exactly like I say or Ray Kurzweil says, but it's still useful to kind of speculate. And having speculated about the future to the extent and with the diversity that we do in this course, you must be then bound to be more prepared for the actual future as it then rolls out. So I think that's the strongest reason for somebody to take the course.
Well, you know what, I think everybody would agree with you too, saying why not be prepared? You know, it's always a great thing. And it's almost like we just learned, you know, if you're going to be an innovator, you've got to be out there and you've got to be the unreasonable person. And
right.
I think that definitely characterizes this class. So
yeah. Well, I mean, what I feel, it may sound funny to say this, but the decision to take the class is something you can be proud of. In the first instance, it takes a little bit of courage because you may not know what the technological singularity is. You may not really wrap your head around exponential change, and you're not really sure about these things. And your friends are maybe not taking this course. They're doing other courses that are very much like the courses in any university out there, you know. I mean, if you're studying a specific subject, there are expected courses that you take as a part of that subject, and they tend to be more or less the same no matter where you go. This is different. It's the only course like this in the whole world. And so you can say, well, gee, that's exciting. But it can also be a little bit scary. Why should I take a course that's so unique, you know? Why don't I want a course that has precedence. You know, where's the precedent? Where's somebody else who taught a course like this? There isn't. You know, this is the only one like it. So that's why I think you can credit the students for having a little bit of extra insight or courage just for taking the course in the first place. So.
That's great. Well, you know what? I think that's all I had to talk to you about. I really appreciate the time.
Sure.
And, you know, your answers have been, I'm already thinking, you know, definitely very, very useful to, you know, what I'm doing, and
right.
Also just very insightful at the same time. So
yeah. Good. Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're very, very welcome. Okay. Thank you.